Alright, so let me quickly show you what I was talking about when it came to like doing inputs in these games, right? So like you were saying how like you use your middle finger for each part of your hitbox. Well, I basically do exactly what you were telling me about with MK, right? So if you look at my fingers, like my fingers lay right here, and this is on the block button. So like, you know, this is important because like, you know, when I'm moving, like I can like this hitbox is so hard for me to get used to because I'm used to like using my middle finger to just block, and then my left finger does the high punch, low punch, and my right finger does the high punch, the high kick, low kick, right? See how like I dropped the combo there, but see how my fingers are hitting each side. Like I basically have access to the buttons at every moment. Like every moment I have access, right? Like you tend to, like I notice like with like how you do your inputs, like you tend to use one finger for all of them, which is fine because that's how you use your thumb on a controller, right? Like that's how you use your thumb on a controller. It's the same concept. Like with a controller, you use your thumb on every button. So it's kind of the same thing, right? Like you using your finger, you have a little bit more travel distance, and then you use your fingers for the triggers. Therefore, that's why it's easier to block on controllers, right? Now, the problem that I run into with this, there's two problems with this peripheral that I've noticed. This peripheral right here. Let's see, I'll point it here. So this peripheral, the problem with this peripheral are two things. The buttons are actually big, and that's fine. That actually isn't a problem. I thought that that was going to be a problem, the buttons being big. But that's actually not a problem. The problem that I'm running into is there's two things. First of all, I don't know why they set it up to where it's an actual D-pad. This should be angled. On a hitbox, I notice hitbox buttons are angled. They're angled like this. See my fingers? They're angled like that. That's a much more natural position, which is extremely important when playing on a hitbox or a keyboard. You need to have as much of a natural position as possible, because if you don't, I've noticed like it causes hand pain. So this is kind of weird that it's like this. I mean, you could get used to it and angle your fingers a little bit still, but it's really weird. So I would change this entirely. Even if I didn't want the WASD, my WASD would have this angled a little bit more in the jump button off to the right side. So that's the first problem. The other problem is, as you saw here, I rest my finger here, right? There's no buttons here. The way you could recreate that is you could put the block button here, right? And then put your fingers here. But then it becomes a little bit weird because to do this button, you'd have to put your finger down. So it's a little bit weird in that sense, because normally this button would be in the middle, right? And if this button is in the middle, it's easier for your finger to sit in the middle. But I think with your idea of putting it in between, that might be a better option, you know? But yeah, this is kind of weird. Like, this just feels weird, right? Because normally this button would be in the middle, right here, right? It'd be in this general middle area. So it actually makes more sense to put the block button here. Because if you put the block button here, then it's kind of closer to the middle, right? Because this is, see, if you look here, that's kind of like the middle a little bit. So you put it right here, and then this could be low punch, whatever, and then, you know, it's still a little bit of a weird position compared to this. This is way more natural. Even this is kind of a little bit more natural, as long as you don't go down. So it's a little bit weird. I mean, I don't know if you saw that, but like it's a little bit weird. You could make it work on a hitbox. You could totally make it work on a hitbox. The biggest argument I've seen is that you put your finger, your pinky, as the block button, and then you use these fingers. But yeah, I play it like I play like on a keyboard, like a piano, right? See, like it's like, you know, piano kind of movement, right? My fingers don't move; they stay in the same area. Sorry, I kind of left some saliva there, but yeah, like my fingers don't move. I think this is really important, at least for me, because it puts less stress on my hands in general, and it just kind of helps. Because I've already noticed like this middle finger is hurting a little bit because I keep using the S and the D, the S and the W, which means I probably should press them lighter. But yeah, like aside from that, like that's kind of how I have it. I honestly still want an 8 shape, just because I feel like 8 shape feels more natural for block button games. But you could make it work on a hitbox. Like after kind of seeing your input, like how you do yours, and how like how you can kind of get like a little U shape there, or if you want to go the opposite way, you could get an upside down U shape. Or not an upside down U shape. No, yeah, it would be a U shape upside down and then a U shape going the other direction. Yeah. So anyway, I figured I'd share that. This video's ran too long, but that's kind of an explanation of like what I'm looking for. So anyway, I'll see you later, and hopefully we can talk a little bit more about it, because like I'm like super actually invested in like how to do a layout with a block button while being able to keep the same layout for a game like Street Fighter that's a 6-button game. So anyway, yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit later.